It's back, baby! Orcust Harp Horror is finally back, so of course I was going to bring you an updated profile for the deck. Ironically, we were actually working on a version of this pre-Banlist, and now that Harp Horror's come back, it's got even better. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you do not miss out on any more upcoming content. With all of that out of the way, I'm going to dive headfirst into this profile and show you exactly what Orcust will look like post-Banlist. So come the new year, return of the deck. So we start off with, of course, the one Mac Daddy Orcust Harp Horror. So glad to have this guy back, and hopefully, if it doesn't get too busted, we'll be able to get this back a little bit more as well than one. So if I was you, when the hype dies down, might as well pick out a couple more copies. So then we're going to carry on with the rest of the deck. Of course, for the rest of the Orcust, we are playing Triple Nightmare. Now, the reason we're playing Triple Nightmare is because you've got the way of being able to send it from hand quite consistently, as well as from the deck, because we are going to be utilising the Horus engine. Personally, the Horus engine is the best engine for this particular type of deck. But if you want to go on more of a budget, like I've said before when I've showcased the Horus cards, you can play more King Sark rather than the Imsetis, but you can also play the Adventure package as well. I just didn't feel you needed the Horus cards and the Adventure package, and I'll explain how they can both serve the same purpose. We've then got two Orcust Symbol Skeleton. Now, through testing, when me and Kyron were testing this pre-Banlist, we found that you needed more skeletons because there was a load of way that you can send it to the graveyard, you recycle it around, which is absolutely fine. But then there was a couple of times when you're like, okay, well, it'd be really cool if we had another skeleton in here because you can utilize it during your turn. Yes, of course, you can recycle it with Ding, but if you choose to go down a different route, you can actually then still maintain one in the graveyard, or it does give you a bit more of a grind game state, which is why, obviously, we've gone with two. We've then got the one World Legacy World Wand. Hopefully this will get a rarity upgrade at some point. One is all you need on this one. And then because we're not playing the Adventure package, if you were playing the Adventure package, I'd arguably say you'd play this at 1 because Harp Horror will get the job done for you just as much. But the idea behind this one is Gear Suit is your main normal summon of the deck. You do have an additional normal summon in the form of Armageddon Knight, which will pretty much help you get the combo started. You can, of course, if you really want to, also play Scrap Recycler. That can count as another like normal summon for you to get everything going and everything ticking. But ultimately, you kind of want to just rely on your Gearsu. And once you've kind of got your Gearsu job done and dusted, everything else then becomes second nature. You've got ways of searching out the Gearsu, looping it back if you need to. So you should always have a starter ready to go, no matter what turn you're on. And then when you're looking at Armageddon Knight, the fact that it's just a normal summon and then dump a Dark from the deck to the graveyard, there's a reason this card is at 1, and unfortunately, it is because of Orcust, which is why it is at 1. You could also play Grepher if you wanted to, but to play the Grepher, you'd also want to utilise the dangers, and honestly, because of the Horus cards, you're not utilising the dangers as much as they did in the previous version, so you don't even need to worry about it that much. For the rest of the Orcust cards, we are playing one of each. So we've got one Return, one Babel, and of course one Crescendo. Now, back in the day, what made Orcust really annoying and really difficult to deal with is that they had a very nice balance of front row and back row. Now, what I mean by that is the front row of stuff like Ding that gave you protection, and of course Galatea alongside Longirsu if you wanted to go down that route as well. Just having that couldn't be destroyed by card effects when they're linked, constantly being cautious of where you place your monsters in the zones did make it a little bit more tricky to kind of deal with and handle on a consistent basis. So it's something that you needed to be aware of. The fact that Crescendo could search out a card the next turn was absolutely fine, and then the fact that Babel made all of your Orcust monsters quick effects was just absolutely nutty. Like, everything was always skeleton, graveyard, bring back Ding, Ding, then send. Like that. I know it sounds very simplistic now, looking back on what the game state is, but that was just such an annoying thing to try and deal with because it just constantly kept non-target sending, or if it didn't need to send a card on the field because it never felt massively threatened, it could very easily just add in a line of protection as well, which is really kind of cool. So then we're going to move on to the Horus cards. Now, when you're moving on to the Horus cards, like I said, to try and make this a little bit more budget friendly for you, Imseti is the main expense of the deck. So you are going to be wanting to play this at 3. When you're playing at 3, the reason you're doing that is for the consistency to get to the King Sark. Now, obviously, if you were to play a third copy of King Sark, you would kind of mitigate one Imseti. Now, obviously, it wouldn't do the exact same thing. You would need to send more cards from the hand to the graveyard, but it does kind of take away a cost of £35 to £40 and drop it down to about £5 for a normal King Sark. In the other two places of the Imsetis, you could then bump up either your Blessing, your Guidance, or your Protection. Now, the reason I'm playing one of each of these is because there is a route, once you resolve the Imseti play, is that you can actually set yourself up. Like, the ideal target you want to go for is going to be your Zombie Vampire, just because it gives you those mills. So it can help you mill into a Orcust card. But you also want to be able to protect yourself from cards like Nibiru, which is why you then need to utilize Galaxy Eye's Photon Lord. Now, hopefully by the time the Banlist comes into check, a little bit after that, we will get the new Maze of Memories or the Battles of Legend collection, which I believe this is what this is getting reprinted in. So that will cut the cost of this card down massively. But the idea is that when you're playing one of each, technically off of the Imseti combo, as long as you've got cards to send from the hand to the graveyard, which is absolutely fine with your your Orcust monsters, you could make a Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord first, and then make a Zombie Vampire. So the Zombie Vampire is basically just there as free fodder because you're going to be milling your graveyard and your opponent's graveyard. You're going to revive one monster that has been milled by either of those, and then you're going to be able to go into, ideally, you want to be milling an Orcust card to then go into a Galatea and then work your way up. The other supporting engine of the deck is, of course, going to be the Bestials. So we're going with triple Lubellion. Now, again, the reason that this has double purpose is not only can it help set you up with Regained and Beast, but it can also, which basically just gives you like constant recursion, because every time you banish an Orcust monster, you just go, yep, cool, back to the deck, draw a card. But what it can also do is the fact that Lubellion is a level 8, it does give you that ability to get into your rank 8 a little bit more consistently as well, should you wish to go down that route. Otherwise, it can be utilised as Beast fodder, Regain fodder, and then of course you are also falling back on a Magnamu, a Druid Swarm, and a Saronir to kind of set everything up. Like, the worst thing about a deck like this, like when it's an Orcust deck, is their Orcust normal end board, just off the Orcust combo, should usually get you a Galatea with a Skeleton in graveyard, followed up with a Ding in the graveyard, and you'll have a Crescendo or the field spell set ready to go. When you add the Bestials to all of that route of play, you're then adding the ability for a Saronir to Foolish Bury a Regained, so that during your opponent's turn, your end board will be a Regained, a Beast, a Crescendo or the field spell, plus a Galatea with the route of bringing back Skeleton to banish to bring back a Ding to non-target send, and then you'll have the Regain to reshuffle. You'll then also have the ability of a Bestial to be destroyed, and you've just got so much more resource and interruption. It's absolutely insane. The other best thing about this deck is it does have a decent chunk, so it has the ability to play a good handful of about 12 hand traps, depending on where you want to go. At the moment, you could probably cut the hand traps down a little bit, cut them down to 10. This is like a 42 to 43 card deck because we are utilising the one Foolish Burial, just because that gives you access to all of your different engines in the deck. So it gives you access to your Orcust cards, it gives you access to your Bestial cards by sending Lubellion, and it can also give you access to the Horus cards should you need to as well. On top of that, another card that I would highly consider for a deck like this is something like Reasoning, just because you're playing level 8s, level 6s, 3s, 4s, 7s. You've got a wide range of options that your opponent can either help mill or help summon. So for the hand traps, we are playing triple Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, followed up by double Nibiru, just because, and for those of you that are new to the Orcust deck, be aware of this, there is a way where you can chain the Orcust Nightmare with a Nibiru, and what it does, because it dark locks you, it basically nukes the entire board but never summons Nib. So you hold onto the Nib for the next turn and you're good to rock and roll constantly with a Nib protected as well. So the way it would usually work is, I believe, if I get my chains correctly, is you go chain link 1 Nibiru, and then you chain the Nightmare, which would summon itself, but it then locks you into darks, or when you activate it locks you into darks. So you can never... You would summon down the Nightmare, but you would never be able to summon down the Nibiru because you're now locked into Darks, which means you can't summon the monster or the token. So what it does is it just nukes your board, and then your opponent gets nothing, which is really kind of cool. We've then got 2 Trill Tactic Talents and 2 Forbidden Droplets as crackback options. So just to give you that option of going second, Droplet is a really good card in this deck, just because you do play multiple Horus monsters, so if you open them up, you can send them as free fodder. You don't mind sending your Orcust cards either, just because you're then fueling the ability for Bestial cards, or you're fueling the ability to actually use their graveyard effects, which is really important. And then the last card we're playing is Triple Infinite Impermanence. Pretty straightforward and simple on that one. You're just playing probably two of the best hand traps in the form of Imperm and Ash. And then you're kind of backing them up with either Talents and Droplets and Nibbed, or you can alternate them. You can play Drolls if you want to. You can play Veilers. You just have a bit of flex spots there, which is what I wanted to show you. So that's it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. So as soon as we step into the extra deck, of course, you are going to be playing the main Galatea. So Galatea is obviously the main link monster for the entire Orcust strategy. That then gets followed up by the one Longirsu. And then the other Orcust monster we play is the one Ding. Now, some people do play two Ding. It's entirely up to you. I kind of feel at the moment one is enough, and I wanted to fit in a bit more space. But I am only going to show you 14 extra deck cards that are like guaranteed for the deck. And then I'll show you the remaining one space where you could put a second Ding should you want to. For the rest of the monsters, so obviously for the XYZs, like I've shown you before, you've got the one Zombie Vampire and the Galaxy Photon Lord. So just Nibiru protection outright and then the mill capabilities. For the Synchro monsters, of course, we've got the one Bestial Dispatter and the one Baron. Obviously, there are ways to make this. Bestial Dispatter is a little bit easier to kind of deal with just because you will get the dragons on the board in the form of the Bestials. But what you also need to keep in mind is that you're going to be able to get your Bestials on the board and then set that up. You can also very easily consider playing the Chaos Angel. But the way that you can make the Bestial Dispatter is, for those that need to remember, is that Girsu the Orcust Mech Knight, this guy right here, if it's normal or special, you get to send an Orcust or World Legacy card from the deck to the graveyard, nice. And then if there are two or more other cards in this card's column, you can treat this card as a tuner. Carrying on with the Link monsters, of course, that's the one Link Kariba that you're going to turn your token into should you need to, or just upgrade it into an effect monster. We've then, of course, got the one SP Little Knight, followed up by Dark the Dark Charmer. Dark is probably a little bit flexible. It will all kind of come down to the local environment. And yes, if you want to, you can very easily play Fenrir in the main deck. It does kind of clash with Girsu a little bit because there are those times when you want to have no cards on the board. And then being able to give your opponent a token can actually be more annoying than you could possibly imagine. Because straight away it shuts off Lightning Storm, it shuts off Evenly, and it also shuts off Imperm. So all of your plays from that point on are always going to be protected from those particular type of cards. And then of course you've got your IP Masquerena, followed up by the one Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, and of course the one Access Code Talker as well. So for the 15th slot in the extra deck, like I said, you can play a second Ding. You could also consider a Barricade Borg blocker. I'm not sure how staple this is now, but I could be wrong. I just need to do a little bit more testing and see if it's still required in this modernized deck or modernized version. Chaos Angel, as previously mentioned. Zeus, because there's not, yes, okay, you want to be careful if you have already milled a King Sark and then you're going to send your entire board that involves a King Sark. But with a Zeus, being able to kind of nuke the entire board then leaves you the ability to go back into a Girsu and get maximum advantage and effect off the back of it. We don't really have, apart from Crescendo, a way to protect from spells and traps. So where you could possibly make Zombie Vampire and the Galaxy Lord, you could actually make Galaxy Lords and Hope Harbinger. And what that will give you is a Monster Negate and a Spell and Trap Negate. So you're kind of covering both bases, and that's just one of them ones where if you don't feel you need the Zombie Vampire mills, you can go down this route as well. So just to kind of give you the overall balance of the deck, you'd probably want to go for something like a Hope Harbinger opposed to one of the others, because you've pretty much, this is like a very niche situation, but it's very good to kind of clear boards. This is just an aggressive option that you don't really need to rely on massively. And if you're not playing the Bestials, then this would go in place of the Dispatter. And then the Barricade blocker, as I've already mentioned, I'm not sure how staple this is right now. It was just a great generic Link 2 that gave you that ability to discard a card, but I feel you can pretty much get that with all of your Orcust cards and everything else that you're going to need as well. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for the profile. I hope this has given you an idea of your own build. I know, technically you can still play this deck exactly as it is, minus the Harp Horror, before the new Banlist comes out. So it gives you time to kind of practice and play. But considering we have, I think by the time this video comes out, just under 2 weeks before the new Banlist comes into effect. And trust me, when it does, I'm going to be super excited. So is Kyron. Kyron's been hyping on this deck. I can't shout out him enough on this one. He's been hyping out on this deck for ages. And he got the Horus cards and he was like, yeah, cool, I'm definitely trying this. We're going to rock and roll this and we're going to work it the way we need to. And then obviously, hoping and praying that one day Harp Horror comes back, and lo and behold, Konami bring it back, and it's like, yeah, we are gonna rock and roll with this deck again. So I can't wait to see what this deck can do in the upcoming format. Of course, it still loses to stuff like Shifter, but it can play around stuff like Droll, and Bestials are a big issue for it, which is why it kind of balances itself back out without being its absolute total dominant powerhouse that it once was. But it now becomes a very satisfying deck to play, or a mini engine that can be utilised in other decks as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.